Everybody, yeah, it is Max Week, yeah. Everybody, lift some heavy weight. Yeah, you guys didn't even know. So Josh back. All right. So here we go. Happy Max Week to you. So a couple of nuggets. So not necessarily Max Week, or I don't really term it Max Week. I call it a testing week. Okay. So we're going to test a few items. Now, if you were with us throughout this 8-week Olympic lifting cycle, we've been doing, or both, if you will, we've been doing some snatches, and we've been doing some cleans, and then we've been doing some jerk strength and skill time. So you guys just like work on the split jerk, things like that. Also been doing a little bit of back squat and front squat stuff, kind of all geared around trying to improve our Olympics. Okay. I actually had this question the other day, and somebody had asked about this. I had somebody ask, like, why am I doing a snatch, or why am I doing a clean, like, versus instead of deadlifting? If you notice, when we do the snatch and do the clean, we're lifting the weight from the ground, which anytime we are bringing it from the ground and standing up, that is a deadlift. But what the snatch and the clean do is it creates, or it trains, what we do after we stand up with something. Because it's not very often that we're standing up with something and just like holding it at our waist and never moving it again. We're just walking around, right? Or we're just standing there, right? No, that would be a usually we're picking something up off the ground to do something with it. So when I pick up my dog off the ground, I don't just hold her at my waist. Actually, I do that every once in a while. She just gets annoyed. I'm picking her up to then bring her to my shoulders. Clean, right? If I have something I'm picking up, and I have a shelf in my garage a little higher, and I'm going to go put something up on the shelf, but it's on the, and guess what I do? I have to pick it up, and then I have to bring it overhead. So that would be either a clean and jerk or a snatch type action. So the snatch and the clean and jerk are teaching us the techniques to do something with the thing that we deadlifted. Does that make sense? So that being said, we have been working on the snatch and the clean, or the clean and then the jerk separately, and we're going to combine those. And we did these testing sessions in the beginning of July. Now we've spent about 7 weeks building and working on those, or 6 weeks in between, and working on those things. And now we're going to retest those skills. And then we'll go and focus on some other things. And that's kind of how we develop overall fitness, right? Is we touch on things and we allow those things to get better. And then we set those and continue to maintain those things while we're then trying to improve other fitness. That's how we build through functionalness and really improve the domains of every domain of fitness. We're constantly varied, progress. So that being said, a little bit of testing week. We just got off a deload week. We talked about deloading. Now we're in kind of a performance. So I'm trying to prime my body to do some testing, and then everything else is going to kind of fall into play. So got some road when we come to this. I'll talk to you about this as we go. So number one, on Monday, we're going to test our 1 rep max snatch. Now, if you've been modifying that snatch in any of the other work that we've been doing, don't worry, we'll continue to modify that in a testing phase for you when you come in on Monday. So even if you're modifying, don't skip Monday, come in, we'll modify it for you to do some level of testing, whether that's a snatch grip deadlift, or maybe you work on a 1 rep max dumbbell snatch, or a 3 rep or a 5 rep, something like that, right? So we get options there. So coming on in, working on the snatch on Monday. Now that is going to be the main event for that stuff. So we will cool down, we'll warm up, but the main event is going to be about a 20-minute series of working on the lift. Your coaches are going to give you a little bit of structure to build, because it's really hard sometimes when we go to build for a 1 rep max and you're just kind of like hodgepodging, just throwing weight on. I believe that the way to do this is to utilize our percentages, much like we've been doing in our strength work. And so I've got to set up, we're going to do the same thing when you go to do clean and jerk on Friday, spoiler alert. But we're going to work in a 21-minute clock. You're going to do a set about every 3 minutes, and you should be starting that first set around 50-60% of your previous 1 rep max. In your first couple of rounds, those are really the only couple of rounds, maybe number 3, but highly doubtful. We should be doing more than 1 rep. So like if I go at 50% of my 1 rep max snatch, I think I snatched 2 pounds when we did the test. And so I'm going to be at 100 to 115 pounds in my first rep that I'm doing my first working set. So I might do a couple of reps there because it's very low percentage, and I might be cleaning up. So the first time I snatch 100 pounds, maybe I just, my feet weren't quite right, or I pulled kind of weird, or all right, I'm going to reset. I'm going to do a second rep. Okay. Just to clean up those things before I move the next weight. I might do that also in my round 2, which is going to be about 65 to 70% of my 1 rep max. I might do another couple of reps there if I need to. But once I get to round 3, really I should be working at singles. And then I'm going to work percentage ranges. So percentages on round 3 might be between 75 and 80%. It could even be between 70 and 80%, depending on what your round 2 was. Round 4 going between that 80 and 85%. Round 5, 90 and 95%. And then round 6 and 7, okay, so we should be working up to that 95% to 105%. So notice I even put a percentage on the max number that I would do. So at 200 pounds, let me pull out my calculator here, 200 pounds times 1.05, that would be my thing. That means that like my new max attempt, if I was going to hit a new 1 rep, would be 210. So I would only be putting 10 pounds on top of that at most, right? Maybe I put 3% on it, 2% on it, whatever, you get what I'm saying? So I'm still using the percentages when I go to attack a new 1 rep max. Now, if I have those ranges in there, because some of us may just not be at a comfort level or at an ability level like this.
In there in the first place, or maybe I've just been working off that RPE, fine, but I still may not get to 105%, right? So if I don't get to 105%, that's fine. Not everybody will get a 1 rep max on Monday, and that's okay. All right. But if you do, I encourage you to use percentages to get there. Okay. Here's the other thing before we, and I'm going to hit on this, and I won't have to say as much in the clean and jerk max on Friday. When you hit a new 1 rep max, it is pretty important that you don't then try to do another new 1 rep max. And here's why. In my case, when I go to hit 210 on my snatch, and I don't know that I will, but if I hit 210 on my snatch, my nervous system is not thrown off as much as the person that never has hit 210, because I've done 210 before. And I've done like my 1, I will not max out. I will not hit a PR on Monday. Like I cannot snatch what I used to snatch. So it's just flat out what it is. I'm like 50 pounds off. Okay. So that being said, if I hit 210 and it was the first time I ever hit 210, guess what it was also? It was the first time your nervous system felt that. It's the first time you pulled like that, you caught like that, you squatted it like that, your shoulders felt it. Take the win and stop. Okay. Because when we do that, we challenged our nervous system to do something entirely new. And then we said 3 minutes later, I want you to do it again. It doesn't work that way. So I really encourage you, unless you are someone who's really building up your weights because this was all new to you, and like you're going to go up 40 pounds because you never did the snatch before, and now you've done it over the last 6 weeks or whatever else, and you're doing new weights every time because this is all new to you, that's one thing. But for those of you that are chasing a new PR, if you hit that PR, don't get greedy and try to take another one. Your nervous system has never experienced that. Let it experience that. It's when we try to bite off more than we can chew on our nervous system, and that's when we wind up getting hurt. So keep that in mind. If you hit that 105%, don't go for 110%. Stop right there, take the win, and go chase 110 next time, right? So that's my plug on that. All right, so that's Monday. Friday, we're gonna do the same thing with clean and jerk, okay? I'll have a couple notes on that in a second. On Tuesday, all right, Tuesday. So this is gonna be kind of like, you gotta think about this like RPE is gonna be between like a 6 and 8, depending on how you're feeling from the clean or from the snatch. The snatch shouldn't be a lot of volume because you've monitored your reps, okay? But again, it was a challenge to your nervous system. So you got to treat Tuesday as a little bit of a recovery day if you need that. If you feel good and you want to go after it, great. The movements themselves will allow you to be in a little bit of a recovery mode. So we've got every 5 minute over 5 sets. This is very similar like what we did on Tuesday. On Thursday this week, we did the every 5 minutes for 4 sets. We're doing every 5 minutes for 5 sets. You've got singles or doubles, so either 80 singles or 60 doubles, 15 sit-ups, 10 goblet squats. We want those goblet squat weights to be heavy-ish, So like top weights on that is going to be 70, 53, but always for all 5 sets, you need to be able to do all 10 reps unbroken with that 70 pounder. If say somebody's chasing the 70 or the 53 or whatever else, right? So whatever weight you choose, I don't want it to be easy weight because again, you're only doing 5 sets and you got these big breaks between the squat sets, but challenging weight, but you can do it all unbroken still. And then you go back down the mountain, 15 sit-ups and then 80 or 60 on your single unders versus double unders there. Okay. So that's just kind of like a repeat type workout in there. We're going to do a little bit of jump rope practice in there as well before that with some goblet squat build. So you'll build up your goblet squats and then you're going to do some jump rope skill. I want to challenge you to try to choose a progressive technique on your jump rope in that skill time to work on, whether that's the super singles, whether that's doing double under attempts, whether that's doing penguin taps if you can't do the single under with the super single, something like that. But choosing a skill development piece there in that EMOM, really important there. And again, even if the RPE might say 7 or 8 on the listing, I want you to be really think about that workout as a 6 to 8 on your RPE based on how you're feeling the day before. Okay. All right. On Wednesday, we are going to do another benchmark workout. So a benchmark workout not related to the snatch or the clean though. This is called Helen. It's a classic CrossFit workout. One of my buddy's favorites. I can't tell you that Helen is also my favorite, although it really should be. It's not a bad workout, but I just don't, it's not my number one. So we got 3 rounds for time, 400-meter run, 21 kettlebell swings, and then 12 pull-ups. So real important here is to scale and modify this workout to be under 15 minutes. Okay. So now for some of you, the win might be that I'm attacking the 400-meter runs and I can do the swings and I can do the pull-ups. But it's going to be more like 12 to 13 minutes with those runs, whatever else. Back in the day when I was like really probably fit, I was doing this in sub 9. That was always a win for me. The 400-meter runs, they will crush if you're not consistent on your pace. And here's what always ate me up is I would do my first 400. And I know this might seem weird to you, but like understand in my peak, I was running like a sub 6 minute mile. That being said, I always can run about an 8.5 minute mile. That's just pretty consistent for me that's just the way my stride goes. But I would run like a 1.5 minute 400 on my first 400. And then I would run like a 1:45 on the next one. And then like a 2:05 on the third one. So I would just die off because my runs couldn't be consistent. And so I really encourage you to find a scale of your run. If it's a 300, if that's a 200, like I don't care what the running distance is, but you want to be able to consistently do it in about a 1:45. And now that being said, I don't want you doing it in a minute. So don't scale to a 200-meter run and then run all your runs in a minute. That's not meeting the intent. You need to have a longer run that gets you to that 1:45 range and then try to be real consistent with that. Sub 2 is that rule on there, right? The other thing too is if you're running 400s or you're going to try to run 400s and all of a sudden you're running 3-minute 400s, that's 9 minutes of running. And then you have the other stuff inside. So I think we miss the intent there. Okay. If you're a tweener and maybe your third run turns into a 2:05 or a 2:07, all right. Okay. But you got to really be mindful of that run distance there. Okay. So not too short. Okay. But also not too long. And that RPE there, even though it's a benchmark, so we're trying to do a performance, the RPE there should be about a 7. Okay. It should not be the hardest workout that you do this week. All right. That should be reserved for the snatch and the clean and the intensity side of things. Okay. All right. So next on Thursday, we're going to do a 20-minute kind of mover AMRAP, right? So we've got some new movements in there, and you guys have seen this before when we do these movers on Thursdays or in active recovery days. We give you some newer exercises in there. So we got a little bike in there. So 15 or 12 on the bike. We've got these 30-second shoot throughs. So it's a gymnastics movement, gymnastics skill movement there that goes, you'll see it on the boxes or the parallettes. You'll see it in Train to Rogue. We'll put the video up there, but it's kind of these shifts back and forth with your feet. It's kind of working from a plank position to a hollow position, if you will, a reverse plank position when you're elevated. Got some box step-os in there, unweighted on these no higher than 20-inch boxes, and then 30 seconds on a handstand hold. Now, we're going to do some handstand skill work prior to this. Okay. So we're going to spend about 10 minutes, working on either handstand holds on the wall. Maybe it's a wall walk hold that you guys are working, that you saw last week in the programming, just a little gymnastic skill time on the handstand stuff. For some of us that don't go upside down, it might just be a push-up plank position or putting our feet on the boxes and working into a plank position there. A pike position there. Some of you that might want to practice handstand walking, this will be a good opportunity for you to work on that in the skill time as well. And then in the workout, though, we're going to work on a handstand hold, and we'll have lots of ways to scale that down or up if we need to on that. But it's a 20-minute mover. So the goal there is really just to work for the 20 minutes practicing these skills. This should be an RPE of 6. RPE of 6. So choose the progression that holds you true to that as well. Okay. On Friday, like I mentioned, we're going to do that clean and jerk test. Same timeline, same percentage setup for like what we did on Monday with the snatches. Here's something that came up in our coach discussion earlier is, am I allowed to do the split jerk if I did the push jerk in the initial test? So I know we had a lot of people that might have opted to do the push jerk in the test. And if you remember, when I introduced that clean and jerk test, I said, hey, I don't want you doing a split jerk with poor technique. And then that, like, it's ugly. It's going to get you hurt. And so I don't want you testing this with the split jerk if you've never done the split jerk before. Doing a 1 rep max time is not the time to do the split jerk if you've never done it before. But now we've had a couple of instances where we've been able to work on the skill and the technique of the split jerk. So if you're someone that got those opportunities to practice the split jerk and you would like to do the split jerk in your retest, I think that's okay. But let me give you a couple of notes here. Number one, if the split jerk is being done, you need to be aware, and you did the push jerk previously and you're more comfortable and stronger in the push jerk, then your weight may go down or may be sacrificed in your ability to split jerk during this retest. So you have to be okay with saying, all right, I'm going to compare apples to oranges, not apples to apples. And so I advanced my movement because I advanced the skill I was trying to attack, not necessarily the load that I was able to lift. If you can deal with that mentally, which that's to your own deal, like you got to figure that out. I can be like, okay, well, I didn't get this way, but I tried something new. So that's why I didn't get this way. That makes sense to me. If that doesn't make sense to you, then I encourage you to test the same way, or to retest the same way you tested. Okay. But if you want to do that, you can. The other option could be that you could practice the split jerk as you're building up in your build, and you could always switch to the push jerk if you felt more comfortable there. So you got to decide what makes sense for you. If you want to compare apples to apples, I would test the same way. I would retest the same way I tested. Obviously, that would make the most sense, but it's not required. And if you've had the opportunity to do some split jerk. Now, also being said, though, if you've never done the split jerk before and you weren't here doing those split jerk skill times, don't try to do something new on test day. It's like I tell my kids that I coach in sports, like, we don't change things on game day. We do what we know on game day, right? We don't change the game plan on game day. We do what we've practiced and we've prepped for. Okay. So that's that. All right. On Friday, and same rule apply on the nervous system, right? If I get to 105%, I don't go for 110%. Stop there. Let your nervous system respond to that. All right. Lastly, Saturday. Saturday, a little bit different setup here. So that's just all I'm going to go over here is on Saturday. We're going to do our partner workout. You have synchro burpees again, and I apologize. I don't even apologize. I said something about people not showing up on Saturdays, and maybe that's why. Maybe we do too many burpees on Saturdays. So, but if you haven't been here for a couple of weeks, come and do synchro burpees on Saturday. So we've got some back rack lunges. We've got some 800, 1,000 meter row. RPE again, I think needs to be, a 6 to a 7 on that based on how you're feeling from your clean and jerks the day before. We are going to finish off on the day after or I'm sorry, the day after that workout, we're going to finish off with a little bit of bench press, just a little bit of show muscle press work after a bunch of extension stuff and all that. And it's just like 4 sets of 5, working at an RPE about 6 there, just to get a little bit of strength work there to finish off. So you'll do the conditioning piece first, then you'll finish off with a little bit of upper body strength. So, so it's just a little different on Saturday. That is it. Exciting week. And it'll be a fun week. We do have some finishers in there. There's a finisher on Wednesday after Helen that's in there to do a little finisher work. We've got some cool down work in there, obviously consistent with what we've been doing. Sometimes you'll see a little bit of the finisher work that is built into the class timeline. Other finisher work might be extra credit for you, and that's something you can do there. But I think we're really flowing well in those class timelines. So if you have questions, please don't hesitate to reach out, and happy to help you and answer any of those that we can. Show up, guys, get to class, allow your coaches to coach you and work with you. Put a goal on yourself. If it's, hey, I can only get here 3 days this week, then get here 3 days, right? Do your best to get into classes. That's what makes consistency, and that's what helps us reach our results. So thanks, guys. Have a great rest of your week. We'll see you on Monday. Peace.